So let's talk about my guests tonight, Naysa, Woomer, and Kristal Knight. They're back on here on the show. The last time they were here was July 9th, and I think a couple of things have happened since then. Good to see you both.
Hi. Good to be back.
Okay, so the last time we were here, it was before an assassination attempt on the former president. It was before the current president dropped out of the race, and it was certainly before the sitting vice president is now the presumptive Democratic nominee. Would either of you imagine we'd be headed down this road from a month ago?
Absolutely not. I mean, this has been the craziest election cycle. There is something big happening every single week. I don't even know how you report the news because there's always something happening.
Yeah.
I think a lot of changes have happened that are really going to determine the future of America and who becomes the next president.
Yeah, I think seeing the trends, Naysa, I mean, going into the last time we spoke and certainly leading up to what happened in Butler, Pennsylvania, it looked like Donald Trump was well on his way to returning to the Oval Office. But have the events, has this changed the race, the trajectory of the race?
I think it's changed, like the trajectory has changed completely. Sorry, I'm like tongue-tying myself.
That's okay.
Ever since President Biden has voluntarily stepped down, or should I say pushed out of running for a second term. I'm sorry, it's true. But here's what I'm seeing, and this is where I'm really concerned as a Republican now. You know, Donald Trump went from an assassination attempt where, you know, you had, the country was united, both Republicans and Democrats, saying this is wrong, like we need to do something about this. And he was riding high to possibly even into November. But then we get to the convention, successful, and then we select J.D. Vance as the running mate for Donald Trump. And I'm just, right now, we're seeing more cleanup than we are what should be a boost in the campaign. And so, so the trends are not exactly great for him right now, but it's just like they need to start playing smart up until the election, because right now it is way too close to be playing stupid.
So Republicans have said, and the line has been since President Biden stood down in this nomination battle, pointing out that they believe Vice President Harris is one of the most unpopular vice presidents. But when you look at some of the trends out there, it's not necessarily true based on the favorabilities. However, J.D. Vance's numbers as a favorability, from a favorability standpoint, are pretty low. It doesn't matter, though, in the end, who the number two is on either ticket.
Listen, I've been saying this from day one. No one is voting for president based on who the vice president is. But we know, news after news cycle, they were saying that Kamala Harris was unpopular. And now look at the race. It is completely different. It is transformed. And we even heard Donald Trump say, it doesn't matter who his VP pick is. You're not voting for him, you're voting for the top ticket of the candidate.
Are you, but let me ask you this, because the speculation began on that Sunday, and the statements came out very quickly, and I think a lot of people were taken off guard that very quickly the Democrats coalesced around Vice President Harris. Is that fair? Was that the right move to make, or should there have been an open battle?
Well, I think it's the right move to make. I mean, she's the sitting vice president. I couldn't imagine if, you know, if we had an open primary and someone else was picked. Absolutely, if that happened, if there was an open primary, you can almost but guarantee that whoever the candidate would lose the black vote. So I think there are a lot of black women who are, you know, decidedly behind vice president, and also just want the succession to take place naturally and not have to go to an open primary or an open convention. It sets up a messy, already crazy election cycle that we have.
Okay, so I want to point out to people at home that it is it's about 7:40. We're recording this interview earlier on the evening. So as far as we know, there is no vice presidential candidate chosen by on the Democratic side. But Naysa, you my fellow Pennsylvanian here, Josh Shapiro, the sitting governor, who's only been in office for about 2 years now, seems to be the top choice.
He seems to be the top choice, and I will say, even as a Republican, I have nothing but good things to say about Josh Shapiro. I know you're probably
and here's why. Here's why he is, interestingly enough, he is in favor of school vouchers, which has been a third rail in Pennsylvania politics because you don't want to piss off the teachers unions.
Right, but he was a popular attorney general in Pennsylvania, and he stepped up to the plate after, oh my gosh, Kathleen Kane had to resign in a scandal.
It was a huge scandal.
Oh, I remember that. But he was also, I remember when he was the county commissioner in Montgomery County, Pennsylvania, and I actually don't remember that he was even I didn't even know if he was a Republican or Democrat. That's just how good he is. And I think she needs that balance. If you're trying to woo independent voters, and even, let's just say it, some moderate Republicans, if you're trying to bring them over to your side, you need that balance. And I think that, you know, we've seen in the past that successful balances, whether it's Barack Obama and Joe Biden, Bill Clinton even Al Gore or
Right.
even George W. Bush and Dick Cheney, you need that kind of a balance.
Well, and when you mention about Shapiro in Pennsylvania, he ran against a complete, for lack of a better word, just extremist on the Republican side. Pennsylvania used to elect Republicans very much in the vein of Larry Hogan and Charlie Baker. They were always very moderate.
Tom Ridge.
Tom Ridge, exactly.
Tom Ridge.
Crystal, I'm tired of asking the Republican about who they want to see in the Democratic race here. Who would you like to see as the vice presidential nominee for the Democratic Party?
Well, listen, I think, the campaign will do the best job picking the right person. I, as a Southerner, I was very hopeful, or I am still hopeful for Andy Beshear. I don't think that he will help the candidate bring more voters because he's from a state like Kentucky that's not in play. So I think strategically, you have Shapiro. You obviously have the astronaut in
Mark Kelly.
Mark Kelly,
Yeah.
thank you. You have Minnesota's governor.
By the way, Mark Kelly just wants to be known probably as the astronaut because he's the only one in the race that can be called the astronaut. But just on that note about will you attract voters, Mike Pence was from Indiana. Indiana was not going blue in 2016. However, he brought over the evangelicals, and that was big for the GOP.
He did, but also I think the 2016 race is very different than it is now. I mean, I think a lot of people were voting, unfortunately, against Hillary Clinton and not necessarily for Donald Trump. But here we are. I mean, I think the race is completely transformed now that Vice President Harris is the nominee.
Real quick, because we have to go. Will there be a debate, do you believe?
I think there will be, and there should be a debate.
I agree. I think there should be a debate.
I would also like to see the vice president submit to some interviews very soon too, because we'd like to talk about that too, because we need to know where she stands on a lot of things right now. But
Absolutely.
2024, lots going on, and appreciate you guys coming in tonight. Good to see you again. Yeah.